Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna try to be brief tonight because I just want to say one thing about what I thought about this game against the Miami Hurricanes and the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. And the word I want to use is embarrassing. Right, the Miami Hurricanes were embarrassed today, losing at home to Middle Tennessee, a Conference USA team, by a score of 45-31. They made Chase Cunningham, their quarterback, look like a Heisman Trophy candidate. Right, Chase went 16 for 25, threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was just disgustingly, incredibly unbelievable. DJ England Chisholm, I think he only had about 15 yards for the whole season, had 169 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, a long of 98 yards. All right. That 98 yard came after the Hurricanes were stalled on 4th and 1. And then they decided to blitz, pretty much Cunningham, and Cunningham burned them. And England, pretty much England was open, single coverage by DJ Ivy, and Ivy was just literally burned on that play. So it was just a horrible game all around. Tyler Van Dyke threw 2 early interceptions. One was turned back for a touchdown. It was just a disgusting game. The Hurricanes were down 17-3 by the end of the first quarter. They made it a bit of a game 24-10 with they pretty much a late touchdown in the second quarter. So they literally looked like there was going to be some life, coming into the game, in the third quarter. Miami had capabilities of making comebacks. Let me tell you, the Canes were a 25-point favorite against Middle Tennessee. There is no excuse for the Canes losing this game. I know that Middle Tennessee is one of the best teams in Conference USA. They're not FIU, but this was bad. All right, this was really bad, especially after such a heartbreaking loss against Texas A&M, where your offense lost you that game. Van Dyke just looked really bad, right? Van Dyke, in the loss against Middle Tennessee, went 16 for 32, 138, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. He was benched in the third quarter for Jake Garcia. Jake Garcia numerically didn't do much better, but the offense looked better with him, right? As Jake went 10 for 19, 169 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Should have had 1 touchdown pass. Again, like in the Bethune game when one got called back for a holding call, a bubble screen that he threw to Rashard Smith. He threw it, but I think it was a swing pass to Jalil Skinner. Skinner did not step out of bounds. The referee disagreed, and they marked him out the 2-yard line. Eventually, they'd score with that Franklin. But Miami's offense just looks atrocious. I mean, Middle Tennessee stacked up the line of scrimmage, although Henry Parrish, who ended up leaving the game possibly with a concussion, had about 4 yards per carry. They were able to stop the run. I mean, that's one thing that no team has been able to do against the Canes. The Miami Hurricanes run blocking has been able to manhandle most teams they face this season, including, Texas A&M and at their home field. And Miami was not able to do that today against, pretty much the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee. They stacked up the box, and this is something that last year, that if this was to happen, Miami does win this game and they're able to come back and they're able to win the football game because they had Tyler Van Dyke, and the system that Rhett Lashley had in place, was well suited for the strengths of TVD, plus having a guy like Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley, two dependable wide receivers, and Will Mallory coming on during the middle of the season, not dropping the ball as much as he did earlier last year, helped out quite a bit. But Miami's offense just does not look good, and it seems to be a disconnect between the young receivers, TVD, and not only that, TVD and Josh Gaddis that's tending to be a problem. There's been talks that Tyler Van Dyke has not met with his receivers, and unless it's practice, doesn't have their numbers. That to me is just a little odd, taking the fact that these are new guys that you're working with. Not new guys because he played with them last year, but they're not seasoned vets like Mike and Charleston were. And I mean, Jake just looked more comfortable. Garcia, he looked more comfortable in the offense. And one thing about this offense that I've said over and over again, TVD needs an up-tempo offense. He needs an offense that, keeps defenses off balance, tires them out, and then he's able to go for the big play. Josh Gaddis' offense, the way it's been running with TVD, is slow developing, routes slowly develop. It's not in TVD's best interest because he's holding the ball for too long. I think he's overthinking his reads. He doesn't have that connection or that chemistry with his receivers yet, not like he does with Xavier Restrepo, who's out for pretty much for a long period of time. He's got about, I think, 4 or 5 weeks before he returns. We saw him with a boot today, over in on the sideline and crutches. It's just not looking good for this team. I mean, I'm very, very concerned. I'm not on the, kill Mario bandwagon or fire Mario, not kill Mario, but you know what I mean by fire Mario, fire Gaddis. I'm looking now at teams like Florida State. Mike Norvell had Deion Sanders looking over his shoulder. He's got Florida State rolling right now at 4-0. So you have to trust the process a bit. Arkansas lost a heartbreaker today to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M should have lost to Miami last week, but nonetheless, pretty much Sam Pittman's team is playing better in his 3rd season. So you have to give Mario some time to bring in his recruits and establish his system a bit better. But this is just bad. Listen, Middle Tennessee's guys do not have, the cred in terms of when they came out of high school, like Miami's guys has. Like DJ Ivey was a 4-star recruit, and DJ Ivey looked bad in coverage today. All right. Jaden Harris got smoked as well. I know he's a freshman, but he was a highly coveted recruit coming out of high school. He was a 4-star guy. He got smoked, on a big play. Miami's linebackers as well, as much flack as they get, they were pretty well recruited. Guys like Steed and Flag and so on. Even though Flag had a hit or miss game today on several occasions, Miami's defense just looked bad. Bad as bad could be. I mean, the strength of this team was the defense, but they've just looked really, really atrocious. And I'm gonna go out there and say this. I mean, I'm concerned, and I do believe if Tyler Van Dyke has the season that he's having today, the first 3 games, okay, actually the first 4 games, I would say, because I'm including the last 3 games, because he was efficient against Bethune, but he wasn't great either because the offense didn't dictate for him. My personal opinion about the Bethune game, I love the fact that about 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns, but they should have let Tyler pad his stats a bit more, work more with his receivers, have more passing, in the game. Maybe Tyler should have finished the game with like 4 touchdown passes. That's just me. I would have done that. Let Tyler pad his stats a bit. Same way that he padded his stats against Central Connecticut last year. They had like 4 touchdowns in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Pad his stats. Let him get in a rhythm. He did not look good against Southern Miss. Did not look good against, Texas A&M. Did not look good at all against Middle Tennessee. And these are teams, that Miami, should be able to beat. A&M, I know A&M has a good team. I'm excluding A&M in this category, but it's just not looking good. And I'm saying this right now. If Tyler Van Dyke does not improve this year, he will come back for another year, but he will not be wearing a Miami Hurricane uniform next year. My guess, you're going to laugh at me, this is just theory. We're talking sports here, okay? We're just talking sports here. My theory is that he's going to transfer to SMU. Tanner Mordecai out of SMU is a senior this year. If he decides to, when he gets drafted, or if he decides to go to the NFL, maybe doesn't get drafted, whatever. I don't know what the draft analysts are looking at Tanner Mordecai in this category. When he goes to that next level, TVD could slide right in. Why? Because he's familiar with Lashley's system. Lashley loves him. There was simpatico. And I do believe that that he will be a Mustang next year for SMU if the season continues the way it is, and he'll hand over the reins to Jake Garcia. That's what I think it is. Miami right now has a pretty good quarterback pipeline with Garcia, with Van Dyke, Garcia, Brown, and then, Rashada. Okay. So Miami does have a good quarterback pipeline, but I will say this. If Miami doesn't get more creative in their passing game, if it doesn't speed up, all right, no matter who's play calling for the Canes in the future, I'm assuming he's still going to be Gaddis, unless he gets an NFL coaching job, which then I think Frank Ponce will take over as OC. If that doesn't improve, doesn't matter who comes in at quarterback, Miami will never reach that top tier like they did with TVD last year and the years past. Because, in my opinion, one of the biggest knocks on Mario Cristobal is that he's too stuck in his ways on offense. Yeah, Justin Herbert did not win him a national championship or didn't come close to it. I will say this, though. 32 touchdowns is not bad, for Herbert's last year. Okay, 32 touchdowns was not bad. At the pace that TVD's going, he's not even going to get 30. Okay, but 32 touchdowns is not bad with like 9 picks. I will say that. However, I do think that great coaches survive because they adapt to personnel and adapt to change. Nick Saban was a pro-style, smash mouth, throw the ball, set up your offense to throw the ball in terms of through the running game. Had guys like Derrick Henry, had guys like Richardson, had guys like Mark Ingram. Now, guess what? Lane Kiffin came in as offensive coordinator. He's embraced the spread. Bryce Young is a dual threat quarterback, and Alabama slings the ball all over the field. All right. If Mario is a great coach, if he's going to be that next great coach, he's got to adapt. All right. And Miami at the moment is best suited with TVD. If they decide to keep TVD, I don't think that TVD will not start against North Carolina. I do believe it's still his job. All right. They just needed a spark, so they went with Jake. Miami's got to speed up. Right. Miami's offense has got to speed up. Okay. They've got to keep teams off balance. That's what made Miami's offense so good last year, was the fact that they sped up. They were fast. They were furious. Defenses were off balance. Lashley's system is simple. All right. It's simple. Quick passes, setting up a big play with power running. All right. The pass sets up the run. Gaddis' system is the run sets up the pass. Right. Listen, and last year, let's not forget, some of you fans out there, you bashed Lashley, and I was defending him on this podcast, and I said, listen, Lashley didn't just forget how to coach, because Derek King had a good season last year or 2 years ago. So what happened? Derek King was obviously hurt. They played him hurt. TVD comes in, balls, right? Balls out. Even in losses, TVD balls, right? But what you mean something? TVD's no longer a good quarterback anymore? No, there's something not working. Right. And TVD's overthinking, missing wide open guys. There's something wrong. Because in practice, that wasn't TVD. In the spring, that wasn't TVD. But the drops are still a problem as well for the receiving core. Michael Rennie had like 3 drops, right, as well this game. Mallory had a couple drops as well. The drops are a problem with the receiving core. That has to get fixed as well. But the play calling has been bad. It's not suited to this team. This team's offense needs to be fast. It needs to be faster. Look, Jay Garcia, when he came in, they were faster. And Jay Garcia led him to a couple scores. And potentially even more scores. Just couldn't punch it from 1 inch. That's another thing, too. What they had, I think, 9 plays within 10 yards or less. Couldn't score. Like 9-yard line on. Couldn't score. You got to put points on the board. It can't happen. Now, I applaud Mario for being risky and going for it on 4th down. I'm going to give him credit. All right. And applaud Gaddis for at least attempting a couple passes and not just trying to jam it down Middle Tennessee's throat. I give him credit. You got to score. You got to score. It's just something that has to happen. And listen, AC, I'm really happy. I think the Canes need a break. The Canes will be off next week, so they will be, on hiatus. They'll be idle, so that's a good thing for this football team. I think it's needed. But I will say this. Although we do not, Sam Howell is no longer the quarterback at North Carolina. This young guy over for the Tar Heels, he's a gamer, man. He's a gamer. 5 touchdowns today against Notre Dame. Now, I think Notre Dame is a bit overrated. At times, they're a bit overrated as a team. But he went into the Notre Dame game with basically a heavyweight fight against Notre Dame. Notre Dame put up 45 points against North Carolina, so their defense is suspect, but they put up 32, and this young kid had multiple touchdowns, had 5 touchdowns against the Fighting Irish. All right, so May is an absolute baller, okay? So Drake May is someone you have to worry about. 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, doesn't turn the ball over. So that's somebody you have got to watch out for, okay? You also be facing Malik Cunningham this year as well. That's your ACC play. And guess what? Florida State is 4-0. They just beat the pants off of Boston College, 44-14. Jordan Travis doesn't look as bad as he did last year. Miami Hurricanes, you're better than this. Your recruiting, as bad as people's Manny Diaz said he was, he did get some 4-stars in there. We got a 5-star defensive tackle and a 5-star safety, Leonard Taylor and James Williams. Miami's got to be better. Coverage has got to be better. And what concerns me, I'm going to going right back to the corners before I end this podcast, or this show actually. What concerns me is the fact that we really haven't recruited a DB this year. That is a great concern to me because there's no depth. So we'll be going after transfer portal guys again. So Miami's gonna have to recruit heavily on wide receiver. Hakeem Williams just committed to Florida State, and they lost William Foles over to Louisville. Right. So I know that Brandon Innes is committed to Ohio State, but he said that Miami's been still tailing him. Get that kid a flip. Get that kid a flip. All right. And that kid out of Oregon that you just picked up, his name escapes me. Get that kid to come and get that kid a flip, because you got to tell me, listen, you'll get your NIL deals. I know you can't say that, but you know what I mean. You'll definitely get playing time. You'll definitely get playing time. All right. And for the wide receiving guys, Frank Latson, Brashard Smith, Mel Brisson, you guys got to step up. Those kids have got to step up. Michael Redding, you got to catch balls. Got to step up. And I think we need to use Jules Skinner as a wide receiver. Big guy, lengthy enough, fast, athletic. Put him at wide receiver. Have your 2 tight ends set with with Will Mallory and with Arroyo, and put Jaleel Skinner as a wide receiver. Have him play that role. You're thin. Might as well. What the heck? Just do it. Okay. And DBs, you got to step up. And recruiting has got to step up for the cornerback position, because we will be in big trouble if we can't get cornerbacks to commit, right, for next football season. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Once again, I am Will. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. See you soon. Take care. God bless. See you soon.